Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, please like and subscribe. For today's video, I'm telling you about my experience working in Jcpenney beauty. Pretty much when I first got into the beauty section, I had never really gone in there before, other than like my first day when I got a tour in there or whatever. So pretty much I go in there, I think it's like, maybe, is it like close to Black Friday, close to Christmas? I don't even know when I started in there, but I told the HR lady, she makes the schedule, and I told her, I was like, oh, I don't mind like being in beauty for a couple of days, because like it's not like I wanted to be in there, because I don't even have like a cosmetology license or whatever. I've never done anybody else's makeup, anything like that, right? I know how to do my own makeup, but I've just never been interested in doing all that other stuff, right? So I was telling her, I'm like, yeah, I don't mind like covering their breaks, or maybe just like throw me in there like once in a while, because in that time during the holiday season, there were these two girls working there. So one of them was like this bigger girl, one of them was like a girl who was like my size, but they were both Black women. So I was like, oh dang, like it would be cool if I could just be in there with them, because all they do is stand around, they sit at the table, they basically like play and makeup all day. They don't have to deal with as much customers, because even when the store is really crowded, there's barely any people going to the beauty section, because the people, they don't know those products in there, so nobody is shopping in there. So I was like, oh, maybe I don't mind being placed in there, right? So there was a couple days during the holiday season where I was placed in there. The beauty manager also has a separate manager than the actual store. So the beauty manager was this like decently nice lady. I did hear like bad things about her, that she's like sassy or lazy or whatever, but like I said in my previous videos, I don't like judging people like without knowing them first, right? So I got to know her. She seemed like all right to me, because I'm like, I really don't give a fuck. Like, you can be mean to all these other people, but as long as you treating me with respect and like, you know, you showing me how to do things, that's all I really care about, right? So she would basically help me out with things, but whatever, and I would be in there for maybe like one day a week, and I was just in there with those other two girls, and like I wouldn't even do anything, right? Because I'm not even trained to be in there. I don't know any of the products. So whenever a customer would come in and it would be us three standing in there, those other two girls would help the customers. I would just stand there literally the whole day, and then they would go on their breaks together, which I think was like they weren't really supposed to do. But when they went on their breaks together, I would be in the store by myself, and of course that was when all these customers would come in, and I would be like panicking because I didn't know any of these products, or like I'm not a salesperson, I've never worked in sales before, and I also don't really care, you know, because I don't know, I just don't care. So I was dealing with that at the time, and next thing you know, the beauty manager tells me that she's going to be leaving soon, and I was like, huh, what do you mean? Like, haven't you worked in here for years? So she was telling me her backstory, and apparently she worked in Sephora before it came Jcpenney Beauty, and I guess they just like kept her job in there. So she basically had to like learn all these new products and like switch around the whole store, blah blah blah, like make the whole transformation and switch over and stuff like that. So she was still getting paid like $20 or whatever her manager salary from Sephora was. So she was telling me, she was like, yeah, it's good pay or whatever, but I'm just done like dealing with the managers and the store, and like I just need something like better for myself, because I think she was also like a hairstylist or whatever. She said she wanted to manage people, and by that she means like actually have like a whole group of people she can be in charge of, not just like, you know, us three girls who were in there or whatever. She wanted like a whole team to work with. So she was telling me how she put in her 2 weeks notice, and then she told the other managers that they have to like read the beauty manual in order to know stuff about beauty, because when she's gone, nobody is like managing beauty, right? So I told her, I'm like, are they actually gonna like read stuff about beauty, or are they gonna like be involved in that? She was like, oh, probably not, but that's not my problem because I'm about to be gone. And I was like, oh dang, that's crazy. So I pretty much went on a vacation for Christmas, right? And then as soon as I come back, I guess she left when I was on my vacation. So I was like, dang, that's crazy. So they were saying that it's pretty much just me and then the two girls, and then they just hired like some Asian lady for beauty or whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, so that's like 4 of us basically. And then I think like the big girl, she got like a new job somewhere or whatever, so she wasn't even working in there with us at all. So next thing I know, I'm starting to be placed in beauty like every single day, and I'm like, bro, I don't even belong in here, first of all, and I'm not getting paid the same, because I realized later that like people in beauty who are like licensed or whatever, they're making more than like a regular cashier. And since I was hired as a regular cashier, I was only making like $13.45, I think. Like the whole time I worked at Jcpenney, I was making $13.45, and yes, it is above minimum wage, because I basically told them in the interview that like I have all these years of customer service experience, and they were like, oh yeah, like we can start you above minimum wage then. So I was like, okay, cool. So I don't know how they figure out the money or the whatever, but I was making $13.45, and then this other girl was telling me that in beauty they make like 14 or something. So I'm thinking like, dang, like that's like 50 cents I'm missing. So I couldn't tell if that was like because she was licensed or not, because then I started hearing that like they actually get like $13.50, which is only like 5 cents more than me. So like I never figured out like what the actual number was, but pretty much I was working for less than what I was supposed to. And it's just the fact that I don't even know anything about the products, but I'm just like placed in there automatically. I also did not apply to be in there, you know? So then I hear that like for beauty, they changed the dress code to where they have to wear like all black all the time, because they're trying to be like Sephora, even though they never will. So I never really got the point about that. So next thing I know, I'm being forced to wear all black. And then it makes no sense, because they're not paying for me to buy all these black clothes and change my whole entire wardrobe, you know? So I'm thinking like, dang, like that's kind of unfair. So it came to the point where it was me, the other black girl, and then the Asian lady. We would all pretty much just like stand there and like gossip about stuff, and like I would tell her the stuff that's going on out there, because I knew the people out there because I worked out there. But when you work in beauty, it's like you're like trapped in there, because you can't just like walk away and leave that beauty section, because that's where all the expensive perfume is, the expensive skincare that's like $100 or whatever. So I was basically trapped in there, right? And then I was making friends with them and all that stuff, and then it was weird because I had to learn all those products, like all the makeup and the skincare, and it got to the point where I was just like fed up with being in there. So like when people would come in there, they would be like, oh, you know, I'm looking for like, you know, some moisturizer. I'd be like, go to Sephora, bro. We don't sell that. Like I don't, like they would start listing brands I've never heard of, and I was like, bro, we don't sell that. Sorry, go to Sephora. That's what I was telling people all the time, because how the fuck you expect me to like learn about these products when you just throw me in there against my will, right? So I was like, I don't care. I'm not getting paid enough to be a whole ass salesperson and explain everything. You know, people would come in there asking for like lipsticks and like all this stuff. I would show them what we have. I would be like, yeah, this shit is really shitty quality, but you know, that's all we got. I did not care. And then when people would come in asking me about perfume, I would just be giving them samples of the perfume, like letting them smell it on the little papers or whatever, because I'm like, I don't know the different scents. I am not even interested in perfume like that. I don't see the point of spending $100 on perfume. I personally do not care. But you know, that was that. So then like a whole month goes by, it's January, I'm still complaining to the schedule lady. I'm like, why the fuck am I still in beauty? Like, why am I not out in recovery? But the thing about that is that like they basically gave this other lady my job because they hired her for the holiday season. So, and then they, for some reason, they asked to keep her on the schedule after the holidays. So that was when I was really confused, because I'm like, how are you gonna keep her on the schedule when that's literally my job? So they basically gave her my job, and then they stuck me in beauty because there was nobody else to work in beauty, right? So part of me, I was low-key just gonna stop showing up, and then they would have only had like 2 people to be in there. But like I'm just too nice, first of all, and I need to pay my damn bills, right? You know, so I couldn't just quit the job like right away like that. So that's when I started looking for new jobs. And then it got to the point where a whole month goes by, and then they're like, oh, like maybe we should hire a new beauty manager. So next thing I know, this like new lady shows up, and I already know she's gonna be a bitch. Like, I can just see it on her face. Like, she had like short hair. She showed up in like stiletto heels on the first day, and I'm like, you working in retail wearing stiletto heels? Like, girl, this is not Macy's, bro. This is not like the expensive section of Macy's. This is fucking Jcpenney. We get like cheap ass customers here, so I don't know why the fuck you wearing those heels. We will see how long that lasts. And of course, the next day she was not wearing those heels. Okay, so that was funny. But then she got into an argument with the other black girl because she just came in here making up like her rules after like all three of us already agreed on what we would do, because being in Jcpenney Beauty is like we had to make announcements like every 20 minutes. Like, that was technically the rule from the boss, even though the boss doesn't know anything about the beauty section. So we would make announcements like whenever we would want to, basically, because why am I making announcements every 20 minutes when there's nobody on the store on a Monday when we close in like an hour? You know, I'm not doing an announcement. Okay, so basically the girl got mad because the new manager told her to make an announcement and whatever, and then she wasn't listening. So then the new manager brought up the boss because she's like a snitch. She can't handle problems by herself. So she went and got the boss. The boss came up there like, what's the problem? Like, why can't you make an announcement and just listen to your manager? And the girl was like, bro, I don't give a fuck about this job. I already told y'all I'm not making another announcement. This job is whack. So she was cussing both of them out, and I wish I was there to see that, but I was off that day. And apparently like the whole store heard, like she was yelling with the customers right there, and then the boss was like, calm down, like you don't gotta use bad language. And the girl was like, I don't give a fuck, you're not my fucking father, you're not gonna tell me what the fuck to say. So, and she was cussing him out, bro. And then like right after that she texted me, I guess she like quit on the spot, I don't know, but she texted me and she's like, girl, I just quit that job, I cussed both of them out. And I was like, what happened? So she called me, she talked to me about like everything that happened, and I'm like, damn, like that's crazy, because she was gonna leave like soon anyways because she found a new job, but she left early. So I'm thinking like, damn, like she was my friend, like she was basically like my older sister, like that's crazy, bro. So she's gone, and next thing I know, it's just me and the Asian lady, who's like, the Asian lady, she's probably like 45, I think, I don't know. And we're stuck with the new manager, something like, so I'm thinking like, it's just like, I don't know what's gonna happen at this point, right? So I come in the next day, the new manager, I'm like, oh, what happened with the other girl? What happened yesterday? And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, bitch, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. Like, didn't you just get cussed out the other day? Like, you know? So then she's like, oh, I can't discuss that, like it's private matters. And I'm like, okay, like I was just trying to hear your side of the story, but whatever. So next thing I know, we're dealing with the new manager and all her stupid rules. So I think she told us like right when she got there that we're supposed to wear like these little like they look like fanny packs, but they're basically like the brush belts that have the makeup brushes in them. And she's like, oh, technically we're supposed to be wearing these. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that because I'm not qualified to do a makeover on anybody, so why the fuck would I be wearing brushes around my waist? Okay, that's just common sense. So she was like, oh, okay. And then after that, she didn't bring it up again, right? Until later. So pretty much, she has like the planograms of like how she's supposed to like set up the table displays and all that stuff. And she would not read them, bro. She was just decorating the damn tables, putting whatever she wanted on them. And I would tell her, I'm like, isn't there a specific way to set up the tables? And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, bitch, what? Like, we got a whole planogram. Okay, but she wasn't reading anything, right? So she wasn't reading anything, she wasn't doing her job. Next thing I know, like we have these events, like I think they're like on Fridays or whatever. We had like these beauty events where it's like a perfume sale or like a skincare sale type thing, whatever. So she would tell me to put out the flyers and hang the flyers around the store. And then she was like, oh, let me like start setting up this display for the skincare event. And I'm like, that says it doesn't start till next weekend. And then she like looks at the paper and she's like, oh yeah, like okay, thanks for reminding me. And I'm like, you could have just read the damn paper yourself. And then it would come to the point where we had to do like damages or whatever, like take the expired stuff off of the shelves. So she wanted us to take the expired stuff off, like, and use the little like scanner thing to do it, and then she would damage them out downstairs or whatever. Like, I've never even seen that process or whatever. So she was telling me, she's like, oh, do you know how to use the scanner? And I'm like, no, like I've never I think have I used a scanner? I don't even know. Maybe like to check prices or to like print out like labels, like the sale tags or whatever. But I don't think I've ever used a scanner to actually like, you know, see if something is expired or whatever. So she was like, oh, you know, so basically the whole demonstration is right here. So she just started pointing to this pieces of paper, like showing it like the step-by-step things. And I'm thinking like, so you're not gonna explain this? You're not gonna show it to me? It's like she was literally in a rush to leave. And that's what I was always suspicious about, because if the store closes at 7 o'clock, why are you leaving at like 5:30? And where is that extra hour going? You know, like she would just always mysteriously disappear. So I'm just thinking she just was downstairs hiding in her office because she didn't want to be upstairs with us in the boring beauty section or whatever. But anyways, she didn't explain to me how to use the scanner. She just like zoomed out the store really fast. And then I'm thinking like, okay, like I don't know what just happened. And then I called the Asian lady, because at that point me and the Asian lady exchanged numbers and we were just like gossiping about her behind her back, right? So we were talking about how the manager don't know how to do her job. And then I come in the next day and I told the manager, I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to use the scanner. You never showed me how to do it. And then the manager, she was like, oh, well, you know, the Asian lady could have showed you. Like, she could have told you over the phone. And I'm like, why the fuck would she train me over the phone? Or why would I train her over the phone, like outside of work? We're not getting paid for that. That doesn't make sense, you know? And then I think it came to a point where the manager, she was damaging stuff out, and she damaged out the wrong things, bro. So she was just throwing out stuff, wasting product. And then there was another time where it came to the same thing. And for like the skincare, I think we were supposed to damage stuff out until like, it was like 3 months ahead of time or whatever, because skincare only lasts like 6 months until it expires, and then you're supposed to buy a new one. So it came to the point where I was doing her job, I'm here scanning all this stuff out, and then I'm like, oh, do we scan this one out too? Because I think this one is fine. And she was like, no, let's just damage that one out too. And I'm like, okay, well, the thing says you're supposed to damage it out until August, but she's here damaging stuff out that says like September, October, you know? So people could buy it in that time technically, but okay. So I was just doing whatever the fuck she says at that point. I would help her like decorate the tables, even though I knew they weren't supposed to be decorated. And then I would come in the next day, I would see that the decorations were removed, even though I told her so. She was struggling to set up like displays. She was struggling to like put up the new products and stuff, even though there's literally planograms to follow. And it seemed like she just lacked common sense, bro. And that's just the management part. But when I tell you about her customer service part, like, it was something I never seen in my life, bro. Like, we had like expensive skincare that's like $100 that, like, you know, for wrinkles or something. So she would try to push the most expensive things, right? Because she's a salesperson. She's supposed to focus on the sales. And the customers would basically like listen to her, like sell the stuff. And then after she would leave, they would come to me and be like, I don't know why she just tried to sell me that $100 skincare. I'm not buying none of that shit. And I told him, I'm like, I wouldn't buy that shit either. It's probably been sitting on the damn shelf for a really long time. So I would just be laughing with the customers at her trying to sell that shit. But it was also funny because I don't even know anything about like that stuff yet. So she would try to sell perfume to the customers, like once again sell them like $150 perfume, and the customer's like, my budget is $80. And she's like, okay, well, here's something for $150. And they're like, but I said $80. And she's like, okay, well, here's something for $120. And they're like, but like, she wasn't listening to the customers at all. And once she can't get that sale, she would literally walk away from the shelf from me and the customer. She would walk away and just be like, and then she would walk away. And then I'm standing there with the customer. We're like, what the fuck? Like, why she just walk away for? And then I would have to help the customer, because it seemed like, I guess she's just like too bougie to help the poor people, I guess. So I'm thinking like, damn, that's interesting. So next thing I know, I'm here getting like all these customer complaints about her when she's like not even here. And I'm thinking like, damn, bro, like these people coming to me with the complaints, they need to leave a damn survey response so that way corporate can see this, or somebody that's not me, because I can't deal with the complaints. And then she had like this black lady, I guess like she was like wanted like a makeover, I guess, or whatever. So apparently she did a makeover on a black lady. She wanted to draw eyebrows on her because the black lady had no eyebrows, and then the black lady was like, oh no, I haven't had eyebrows for like 20 years. I don't need them drawn on me. I like myself without eyebrows, whatever. And I guess the manager was like pushing it to her or whatever. So then I guess the manager sold her like 2 things, and then she left the store, right? So the next day she comes to me doing a return, and I'm like, oh, you know, why are you returning these items? And she was like, oh, well, there was a crazy lady here yesterday. She did a ridiculous makeover on me, trying to draw eyebrows on me, even though I said I didn't want eyebrows. And next thing I know, I'm just buying these things to leave the store because she keeps pushing for me to buy this like highlighter or whatever. And I'm thinking like, oh dang, like that's crazy. But I wasn't surprised because I'm like, once again, another complaint against the manager. So like, what can I do about that? And part of me is like, I automatically believe the black people or just like the customers in general because I already knew how she was. So when this customer is telling the story to me, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But then when I asked the manager's opinion about it, the manager was like, oh, she just wanted free stuff. She just wanted a free makeover. She kept asking me for this, and she was like bashing the customer. I'm thinking like, damn, like imagine being a customer in a store and then the manager is just casually bashing you the next day. That shit is crazy to me. So it came to the point where I think the Asian lady got into an argument with her or something like that, and then we were just both against her, something like that. I don't know. And then it got to the point where she was leaving or whatever. She was transferring to the other Jcpenney, and then she like, what did she say? I don't know. She said she didn't like being there, or she said she was transferring because she wanted to be closer to her family, because I think like 2 of her family members died like close together or something. So she was like, yeah, I'm just going there to be closer to family, blah blah blah. And like on the outside I was like, oh, okay. On the inside I was like, girl, you know damn well you only transferring because you don't like us here. You don't like talking to us. Nobody likes you. Even the other like coworkers who didn't work in beauty, they was saying that she literally looks evil and she looks hard to deal with and stuff like that. And I was like, oh yeah, she is, but you know, gotta deal with it because it's the job. So pretty much people were basically just telling me that they feel sorry for me, that I had to work in there with her. And I was like, I don't know, can't do anything about it. But yeah, I just hate working with somebody like in sales because they think that like pushing the most expensive thing to the customer is like, that's what's gonna sell the product. But in my opinion, I just try to form relationships with the customer. Like if you come in here telling me like, oh, I want a full face of makeup, like can you sell me some products? I'm gonna be like, okay, sure. And I'm not gonna give them the most expensive foundation and concealer or whatever. I'm gonna give them like low-key the cheap stuff, because I would rather have somebody come back like 5 times buying the cheap stuff than buy like something that's super expensive and then return it the next day and never come back. You know, like I like to create relationships with the people because then they say that they like me and then they'll keep coming back to visit me, right? So me and the Asian lady had like a good like clientele, I guess you would call it, because people would come back to see me. And then the Asian lady, she was good at selling the skincare, so people would come and like, you know, go back to her and she would get good reviews too, because I would have customers saying like, oh, you know, where's that Asian lady so she can sell me some skincare? And I'd be like, oh, you know, stop by tomorrow, she'll be in here. So it's like we would be getting good reviews and people would be complaining about the manager, and I would tell them that too, because they would be like, oh, like why does it seem like she doesn't know anything about these products? Like it seems like she just pushes the most expensive thing. And I'm like, I don't know, that's our manager right there. Then they would be like, really, that's your manager? And I would low-key have to beg them not to leave a negative review, or else we would have had fucking like 5 negative reviews a week from her if I told them not to. So literally the only time I would tell them to do like the little survey thing is when it's about me or the Asian lady, because that's what's gonna boost us up. But pretty much like the final days that she was there was basically like hell, because she was trying to hire new people, because like I guess she figured maybe if she brought in a new team of people, they would like her. right? So turns out, as soon as she hires some new people, I talk to the new people, they're like, oh dang it, she seems like a bitch, like why isn't she training us, like she's not talking to us or whatever. So they were on our side too, so it seemed like everybody was against her at that point. And next thing I know, apparently like this other girl who works in the store, she hates me for some reason, obvious reasons, but she basically like was stalking my social media, and I think she saw my TikTok or whatever, so she was stalking my accounts hard as hell, bro, because people be obsessed with me. And then I guess she showed the TikTok to the what's it called, the makeup manager, our manager, and then the manager figured out that I was talking shit about her online. But me personally, I do not give a fuck, because I will say shit to your face, okay? So I guess she saw the video, and then she was like, oh, well, you know, you shouldn't be talking about me online, that's so immature and unprofessional. And I was like, bitch, you've been unprofessional this whole fucking time, the way you talk to the customers behind their back and all this shit, and I'd be saving your ass, having them not write surveys about you. Like, I went off on her too the last day I saw her, so I did not give a fuck at that point. But yeah, she was probably the worst manager I've ever had, and she claimed to have like 20 years makeup experience, and I'm like, how do you have 20 years makeup experience but you can't do a simple like look, you know? Because people would come in there asking for like makeovers, and I'm like, no, we don't do makeovers here. And then she would have these people sitting in the chair for an hour just to do like some basic ass like smoky eye on them, and they wouldn't even like it, and then they wouldn't even buy any of the things she used. So that was the funny thing. She would be doing whole ass makeovers for free, and they would not buy those products. And I knew they wouldn't buy those products because I know who the cheap customers are, because I've been working there longer than she has. Okay, so now that I'm actually editing this video, I forgot to tell y'all a quick story time about her doing a customer's makeover. So pretty much she would be like yelling and screaming like outside the beauty section in order to get customers to come in the store. Like, we would be in a little section, and then the escalator to go down would be right outside the beauty section, right? So we would have customers, you know, come in the store, and then they would be going like, you know, straight downstairs to go to the separate section or go inside the mall or whatever. So as they were walking by, she would be like, you want to come in for a makeover? You want to come in for me to do your eyeshadow? Like, she would be screaming at the customers who are clearly just walking through to get to the mall or whatever. And she would be harassing them, whatever. She would have the perfume in her hands sometimes, be like just spraying it in the public, and then people are walking by like choking on the damn perfume because she sprayed it a million times. And then one day we had this lady come in. Right away she came to me, and I feel like I recognized her because she came like a long time ago or whatever. But she came in, she straight away told me she just wanted like a basic like eyeshadow palette, like maybe some neutral colors. And I showed her like this cheap little palette, like what was it, like $15 or something, and she was like, oh, like I'll probably get that one, but I'm gonna still look around, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, like let me know if you need anything. And then I just go back to the counter and like just wait for her, because I don't stalk people while they shop, okay? Like, I'm black, I don't like being stalked while I shop. But anyways, the lady was looking around, and then the manager was like, oh, did you help her? And I was like, yeah, she said she's still looking. And then the manager's like, oh, I'll go help her. And I was like, bitch, what the fuck? So then the manager runs over to the lady, and then the lady tells her that she's looking for an eyeshadow palette, and then the manager's like, oh my gosh, like it would be so cool if we, like, I just show you like a quick eyeshadow look really quick. And then she chooses the most expensive eyeshadow palette for like $60 with like the same colors in it as the cheap palette. And then she takes the lady over to the makeup table. She does the lady's makeover. She's sitting there for like, I'm gonna say 45 minutes, right? And during the makeover, the lady is like really grateful, I guess, because she's like, oh, I never feel pretty, so it's good that I'm getting a makeover right now, like for free. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna be so pretty after this. And of course the manager is like hyping her up or whatever. But then the manager starts like bashing her, and then it was supposed to be like a simple eyeshadow look just to show her the eyeshadows in the palette, right? Whole time this is turning into a full face of makeup. So she's like brushing out the lady's eyebrows, and she's like, oh, your eyebrows are really bushy, you should really have those trimmed. And then the lady's like, oh, okay? And then 5 minutes later, like, she's like putting on some foundation and she's like, oh, like, this foundation, it looks kind of bad right now because your skin is so dry, so you should buy like one of our hydrating treatments, blah blah blah. And then the lady's like, oh. So basically she's continuing to bash this lady. This lady did not ask for any of this shit, bro. And then she's like making eye contact with me because I'm like standing like on the outside. I'm like greeting customers as they walk by, but then I look behind me, look at that lady getting her makeover. I'm like, you walked into the trap, bro. She got you into her fucking web, bro. And it's just so funny to see because she's doing the makeup, it's turning out fucking horrible, and then she's doing the eyeshadow, and then she starts to do like the eyeliner, and it's like a liquid eyeliner. She draws the line crooked as fuck, and then she blames it on the lady, and she's like, oh, that came out crooked because you don't know how to keep your eyes closed. Like, you gotta keep them closed. You gotta keep them closed. Do not move, blah blah. I'm like, bro, this is like an older lady. Like, she's probably your age, like fucking 60 or whatever, you know, like, so that was funny to see. And next thing you know, the lady, like, she's really grateful. She's telling her story about like how her husband just died, and we're like, oh dang, like, that sucks, like, what the fuck, you know. And then after the whole makeover, right, the lady comes over to the counter. She literally buys the cheap makeover palette, the cheap eyeshadow palette that I told her about 45 minutes ago, and then she puts the eyeshadow palette on the counter. I'm like, okay, this is it for you, okay, here you go, bye. And then I check her out, you know, all she did was spend $15 on the little one that I showed her, right? She didn't spend money on any of the products that our manager was showing the lady. And then after the lady walks out, the manager comes to me and she's like, oh, what'd she buy, like, how much money did she spend? And I'm like, $15. And then the manager's like, what? That's it? Like, what'd she buy? And I was like, some little makeup eyeshadow palette, you know, like something basic. And then the manager's like, wow, so I did that 45-minute makeover on her and she didn't buy anything. Like, I was giving her all these tips and tricks and trying to help her out, and she didn't buy anything. Oh my gosh, like, she literally just walked away with a free makeover. She was supposed to buy something. And I'm just thinking, like, technically, like, our policy doesn't require people to buy the products that they used, like, in the makeover. Second of all, we're not even supposed to do makeovers. We're not qualified to do makeovers. We shouldn't be doing that in the first place. Third of all, if we do like a little mini makeover, it should only last 5 minutes. I'm pretty sure it says that in the fucking handbook, you know, which I'm guessing she didn't read or whatever. So yeah, she was basically just bashing the customer, and she didn't even give a fuck about anything. And then she was like, the manager was like, yeah, she told us that whole story about her husband being dead, and like, but she couldn't buy anything. Like, we had to like sit there and listen to her through her talking so much. And I'm thinking, like, damn, do you lack empathy? You here worried about the money and this lady's husband just died? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So that's when I knew she was like an actual crazy person, like delusional. So I don't even know how like her transition was whenever she moved to like the next Jcpenney or whatever. I feel like those coworkers were low-key complaining about her. So I don't even know what she's up to now. She's probably working at some fucking, not even McDonald's. She's probably working at Macy's or something. But she's like, she reminds me of like those people who would be like an Avon lady. Like, she, like, maybe 30 years ago, she was like knocking on people's doors trying to sell makeup to get them to join the pyramid scheme. Like, that's what she reminds me of, that type of vibe or whatever. But like, I don't know, I feel like I can just like sometimes sense when people have like negative energies and stuff, you know. So I could low-key sense it from her from the beginning, because it seemed like all she cared about was money, like the boss. And then people would always compare her to the boss too. They would be like, oh, the boss really likes her, you know, apparently she's good with sales. And I was like, oh great, you know, if he likes her, they gotta be a shitty person, because that's how he is too, like, only gives a fuck about the money. So I don't know, working in there was like low-key a bad experience. I feel like if I actually did apply to be in there and like that's all I did was only the makeup thing, then like I guess it would be an easy job, because all you got to do is learn the products and the perfume, you know, and then try to sell stuff. But either way, like, I'm just not a salesperson. Like, I can just be a regular cashier, I could do that, but like selling stuff, I can't do that, because that's like when they asked me to be in the jewelry department, and I'm like, what the fuck I look like selling jewelry to old people? This cheap ass jewelry that's gonna break in 2 days. Anyways, that was my experience working in Jcpenney beauty. And I feel like it would have been like 10 times better without her. Like, we would have been fine, just the three of us, like me, the Asian lady, and the other girl. We would have been fine, but they just had to hire a manager. But then it's like, what's the point of hiring a manager if they're incompetent and don't know how to do their job? Like, we don't need you at that point. But yeah, working in there was a mess, and she even tried to get us to like wear the makeup brush bag or whatever, because she only like tried to get us in order when corporate was coming, because corporate did like random visits and stuff. So it's like, how are you gonna start doing your job just because corporate is coming? Shouldn't you have been like doing it since the beginning? Hey there, it's me, the editor. So another quick story time for y'all is that we had the corporate people come in, and it's not like the corporate people of Jcpenney, it's like a separate thing for like corporate of Jcpenney beauty. So we would have like little beauty people come in, look around the store, see if it like is set up properly or whatever. So she would have that written on the calendar in advance for us. So she would write it on there, say like, you know, corporate person coming Thursday, and then she would come up to me and be like, okay, so you're working Thursday, so when you come in, we gotta make sure the store is all straightened up, everything is set properly on the tables, the perfume looks nice and set up, everything is clean, we gotta like dust the stuff, blah blah blah. And I'm thinking like, yeah, sure, like I'm not really listening to her because I don't really give a fuck. So then the day that the makeup corporate lady comes in, she tells me to like put on that stupid makeup brush bag, and I'm like, okay, sure, whatever, you know, I'll make you look good, sure. So I throw on the brush bag before the corporate lady gets here. Next thing you know, corporate lady is here, she introduces me, blah blah blah, all that stuff, right? And then the corporate lady's like, okay, so I want to talk to your employee like by herself, okay, so you can give us some time alone. And then my manager is like, oh, okay. And then she like walks off. But before the corporate lady even came, the manager, she literally like looked at me and she was like, oh, you better say good things about me. And I was like, bitch, who the fuck you think, you know, like she want me to say good things about her when she just came in our store, and she knows that we hate her. You know, she wants me to lie to the corporate lady about her, you know? So I was like, nah, bro, I'm about to say it all, okay? So pretty much my manager left, and then I'm alone with the corporate lady, and I'm basically telling her, I'm like, yeah, so we had this new manager come in, but she doesn't really help us, you know, she doesn't know anything about the products, blah blah blah. She like cares about the money aspect of things, blah blah blah. Like, she made me wear this makeup brush belt even though I'm not even certified to wear it, and we do not do makeovers here, and I am never doing makeovers on people's faces, right? And then the corporate lady's like, oh, that's a lot of information, but she kind of like brushes past it, I guess, maybe because they're just too lazy to hire another manager who's actually competent. But then the corporate lady like walks me over, and she's like telling me, she's like, okay, so how would you sell me this product? And then I basically like held up like a random moisturizer, and I was like giving her like my basic sales pitch. I'm like, okay, so this moisturizer, you know, is like better than any of the other ones I tried at Sephora, blah blah blah. Like, I'm like lying my ass off like I do to the customers, right? And then the corporate lady was like, good, like you seem like you're really knowledgeable about the products in here. You seem like you have so much passion, and you seem like you do so well explaining to the customers. And I told her, I'm like, yeah, that's because I'm lying, and I really don't know what I'm doing in here because they placed me in here against my will. And then the corporate lady was like, oh, you know, so that was a thing, you know. But yeah, then my manager comes back, and then we all say bye, blah blah blah. And then my manager is like, what did she say? Like, did she say anything good? Like, what'd you say? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, I said what I needed to say, you know. And she knows what that means, because she knows I fucking hated her, okay? But like, it's just so bad. Like, that's how you know she's a bad person, because she wants to lie to the customers, she wants to lie to corporate, she wants to lie to the boss. Because we even had the boss come in, like he would ask, how are the sales doing, because I think they specifically hired her to like boost our sales or whatever, because she was doing good sales at her old job or whatever. So he would like pop in and be like, how's the sales going? And she'd be like, oh, so good, like we're at like $700 right now, like we're already past the goal. And then I look at the goal like on the iPad, I look at like our sales for like the hour, and it's like we got like $300 for the day so far. And I'm like, why the fuck is she lying to the manager, to the boss? Like, he can literally see it on the iPad. You know, she's telling him that we're at 700, but we're really at 300. Like, you lying to the boss now? Like, damn. I don't know. So I low-key wish I could have went to the other Jcpenney and went to their beauty section, and I would have waved to her, been like, hi, how are you? And then just fucking left her a negative review just for fun. I should have did that shit, but I'm too lazy to drive all the way over there. But yeah, that was the end of this video. This one is hella long for no reason, but stay tuned for the next one.